Hello again. Welcome again to MSCI 541. We've come to the end of the term now. We've covered a huge amount in the course, but there's a huge amount more to information retrieval as well. And today what I want to do is to wrap up the course, I want to give you a specific slice of research that we did to give you a taste of some of the other things. So I could try to give you a whole big survey of all the other areas and start talking about deep neural nets and all sorts of other sort of ranking and classification and lots of other problems, but I always find it much more interesting to look at something narrowly and to learn something of interest rather than just to have a long laundry list of things. So what I'm going to do is present this work. This is work that was done a couple years ago with Francis Pogacar, Amir Ghanai, and Charles Clark. Francis started this work when she was she's a former management engineering student, and she actually switched over to computer science, but now she's at the University of Toronto in their industrial engineering program as a graduate student, working on her master's degree. I think she's finishing it up. And Amir Ghanai, a former PhD student, co-supervised by myself and Charlie Clark, now soon to be a faculty member, or perhaps already is actually. I don't know when her appointment actually starts. And so this is work that I really, really like. And it covers this concept of health misinformation, which is an active, ongoing research area, and absolutely something that my research group and many other research groups are very concerned about. You may see all sorts of headlines in the news about problems with health misinformation. And this, though in particular, this work here, we're going to look at search results. And to what extent could incorrect information actually affect people who are looking for information about health treatments? So let's get into this now. All right, so imagine you've been suffering back pain, okay? And someone says to you, what we could do is, why don't you try out these insoles? I heard insoles can really help with your lower back pain. And so you go and you turn to the search engine to help you find, maybe you're going to look for insoles, or maybe you're going to just research to make sure about insoles before you decide to try them as a way to help your lower back pain. So this is an example of an actual search at the time that this presentation was put together on a leading search engine. And we're not going to take the time to read all the articles, but what I'll tell you is that what we can do is we can actually look, and we did do this, we looked at a article from this is a scientific overview of what research has been done on whether insoles could actually help people with their lower back pain. And at the time we read this article, this systematic review from the Cochrane Library, our interpretation was that insoles actually do not help with your back pain. Okay. Certainly in the years since, there might have been more research that's come in, and there might be cases where that's not the case. So please don't take this as our medical advice. But at the time, our interpretation was that insoles, based upon the Cochrane review, said, oh yeah, they're no good. So, but anyway, you've done this search. We know the truth, but you as a searcher, you actually don't know the truth. And what would happen to you if you saw these results? This first one here, well, it's from Dr. Scholes. Well, Dr. Scholes likes to sell insoles, and I think they're probably going to be inclined to actually tell you they are helpful. And they do. They tell you that the insoles are going to help your back pain. This next one from Spine Health as well says they're helpful. I think Spine Health might be selling you insoles as well. Another one from Spine Health, it's a different article, but it also says it's helpful. There we have another one that's helpful. And we have an LA Times article here. And in fact, it cites the Cochrane review that we had used to determine the efficacy of this treatment for lower back pain. And the LA Times article reached the same conclusion when they read the Cochrane review as we did, which is you're going to waste your money if you buy insoles to try to solve your back pain. So or if you continued on. I mean, there's 10 results on a typical search engine result page, and you're going to find, oh my goodness gracious, they are all, the rest of them saying they're helpful for you. So here you are, you're a search user, you got this back pain, and your friend has recommended the insoles to you. You don't know about, like, let's go try to read a systematic review in the Cochrane library. These are the results you get. 90% of them say that the treatment is helpful for you. Now, there's one authoritative result, and it's there, and it's got what I believe to be a correct answer, saying they're not helpful for you, and it's at rank 5. What do we think you would do, or what do you think other people are going to do? And that's really what our survey looks at, not our survey, our study here looks at today. We're going to investigate this in more detail. But I want you also, you may be thinking, well, what insoles, who really cares? I mean, they're not that expensive unless you're getting special orthotics, which are several $100s. But what about if you had diabetes or cancer, or a loved one had a serious illness, and you turn to the search engine and you see all these results and they tell you a certain treatment is helpful? What if it's not actually helpful? There's a real potential for negative impact and harm here if you are influenced to make a bad decision about healthcare treatments when you turn to the internet. So we do know that a large fraction of people actually do turn to search engines to find themselves help when they're looking for health information. But the problem is search engines return both correct and incorrect information. I would say when we started this study, we really sort of assumed that the users would be able to go, you know, I can tell that's not a reliable source, and I'm going to sort of be able to distinguish between incorrect and correct information on the web. But what if that's not actually the case? What if there's some other mechanism at play, and it's not easy for people to distinguish correct information from incorrect information? We could have some real serious issues. And let's just give you a heads up. This is the quick summary of what we found. So what we did is we constructed search results, and we had a mixture of correct and incorrect information in them for people, and we showed them to them and asked them to try to find what is the actual efficacy of these health treatments. And we did it in a controlled fashion so that we asked them without using a search engine what they thought the answer was. And the good thing is if we bias things towards correct information, by the way, this is the second bullet point there. If we bias it towards correct information, wow, we can really help people make a better and more accurate decision. But if the search engine ends up being biased towards incorrect information, oh geez, it would be worse for you to go to the search engine than it would be for you just to try to figure it out, or what your prior belief was. People's prior beliefs are better than when they turn to a search engine that feeds them misinformation. All right, and by the way, we did actually find that where correct information is ranked has some effect. And also, by the way, if you actually know more about a topic, know more about health issues and treatments and things like that, you can sort of be inoculated against making bad decisions. It won't completely protect you, but you're less likely to be persuaded by incorrect information when you see it, because you actually know something about the situation. All right, let's get into the actual study that we did. And again, what I'm trying to get at here in 541 is to give you a sense of, wait a second, information retrieval is not just about search results and ranking, and we've been doing all this stuff, and let's measure, are we getting the relevant material or not? It has much broader societal issues, and we have to consider all these factors when dealing with actual humans using it. we get so used to, oh yeah, we just had this effectiveness measure and it tells me, that my NDCG is this, that we can forget about the big picture of people actually applying search to solve problems in their life. All right, so outline of the rest of the presentation here. We're going to go over the study design, then we'll give you the results, talk about them, and conclude this presentation. All right, what we did is we had a set of medical treatments that we found, and we looked up the solution, not the solution, the treatment for the health issue in Cochrane, and we determined based upon that whether or not they were helpful or unhelpful. And we had 5 of them. I believe it was 5. I should actually check. Sorry, go back. All right, so we had a set of these health treatments. Some of them, half of them were helpful and half of them were unhelpful for the health issue, and they were all different health issues. We brought participants in for the study, and we basically said, look, you want to figure out whether or not this treatment for this health issue is helpful or not helpful, or is the current research out there inconclusive and we can't really make a decision and say one way or the other. And so we'd show them the search results, and it was just 10 research results. They could click on them, they could view them, and when they felt like they concluded their search, they said, I'm done, and then they submitted the answer that they believed, whether it was helpful, inconclusive, or unhelpful. All right, and as I said earlier, we introduced a controlled bias in this. We always used an 8-to-2 ratio, so we really biased it. So we either gave them 8 correct and 2 incorrect, or we gave them 8 incorrect and 2 correct. Anyways, then we also always controlled where was the rank of the topmost correct item. We either placed it at rank 1 or at rank 3. The other item would be placed randomly below it then. All right, and so then we ended up with the following experimental conditions. We have these different biases and also the different ranks. And then we have the control. Again, the control here is we do not show you actually any search results. We just simply say, for example, are insoles helpful for lower back pain? And then you are to determine and answer helpful, incorrect, helpful or unhelpful or inconclusive. All right, so this is what it looked like. We show them the setup here, give them the task question. We ask them some things in advance. You see, yes, the question. We also give them definitions. We didn't want people to be, I've never heard of this, or I have no idea what you're talking about. We wanted to make sure that they were on the same page, so to speak, with what we were asking them to do. And then, we asked them things about their prior knowledge with regard to the task here. This is all right. And then they actually get to see the system. They don't get to type in their own query, but we're testing now how they would respond with regard to a set of search results. And so you get to see they get a standard title, URL, snippets, and they can click on the link. We also always keep them the directions and the definitions of things to them on the right there. And then this is what they saw when they would get a control page. The control condition, they would not get the SERP. They would just have to go and actually answer the question then. All right, so we have 2 ways of measuring our performance of our participants in the study here. We can measure their accuracy, the fraction of these tasks that they did that they actually got correct. We can also measure a notion of harm. So if you answer inconclusive is kind of a safe bet. But if you think something is helpful when it's unhelpful, or you think something is unhelpful when it is actually helpful, that's sort of a harmful decision on your part. You're probably not going to, that's not a good thing. And so we can measure both harm. Whereas accuracy, if you say inconclusive, but it is actually helpful, you're getting that wrong rather than right. Okay. So these are the details with our participants, 27 males, 33 females. Most of these are undergraduate students. We do have some graduate students in there and a few other people who are not students. And again, what we did is we gave them 10 of these questions. There's 5 helpful and 5 unhelpful. They're randomized and all put in a special correct order. Yes, we use a Greco-Latin square. And then these are the statistical methods that we use to determine whether things are, we're seeing statistically significant effects or not. Okay. All right, so let's look at the results in detail here. So first, our measurements in accuracy. The first thing to note is that with the control condition, again, 43% of the time you actually get it right. All right, but if we show you correct results, the good news is you get better. Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge improvement, up to 65% there. Note, actually, we can actually see that if we place it at rank 1 instead of rank 3, we get another boost there in performance. And this is the really troubling aspect of this. This notion, this sense that, well, people should be able to sort of look at these results and determine, oh, yeah, I can tell this is incorrect, or I can tell this is a correct answer, is not right. People cannot truly tell. There's something going on here that sways them. Actually, later work that Amira did in her PhD thesis, and she's published, actually shows that one of the big things that seems to happen is that people are really biased by the overall prevalence of information in the search engine page. It's as though people think they're getting a random sample of opinions or something. It's like they're asking, 10 doctors, what should I do? Oh, well, 8 out of 10 say the following, but that's not what search engine results are. Search engine results, you've taken this course and they're just these statistical counts and this and that. And if the collection itself initially is biased, which in general we believe it is, we believe things are biased towards saying things are helpful, people are in general going to, whatever they put in, they're going to get things that come back helpful. And so people don't really understand what search engines are doing. And even if they do, they're still getting biased by them. That affects their decision making. They see all these results and they say something, but it's incorrect. And that can really lead to a potential for harm. All right. So yeah, it drops them from 43 down to 23% there. All right. Then on looking at the statistical testing, absolutely. We've got the search result, the bias is a really big thing. On the other hand, note that on the other hand, we really did not achieve statistical significance with regard to the rank affecting things. So while we can see that it looks like there's some effect from this study, we didn't have enough data to actually find that it is statistically significant. So perhaps there is not an effect with the rank, at least as far as we are able to show and prove here. When we look at harm, we're going to see very similar results. All right, so I'm not going to go into them in detail. All right, so what are the big summary of the results here? Yeah, search engine results absolutely seem to have the potential to influence people. And we say the potential here because this is it's a laboratory study. People are not actively doing their own searches. That's in a controlled environment. So there's all this while we get to the controlled environment lets us draw some conclusions, it doesn't necessarily tell us about exactly what happens in the real world. We won't really know that, but it definitely says there is great potential for search results to influence people's decisions. One of the things that we found, we asked people about their prior knowledge about these, and absolutely, the more you reported your prior knowledge, the better you were at this, and you were able to resist being the effect of the incorrect information. One of the things that we also found here is that people who interacted more with the search results seem to be less affected. So this engagement factor perhaps is a really good sign, and maybe a reminder to all of us that we should be actively involved with our search results rather than just take them at face value. Yeah. Okay. And so, in conclusion, yeah, we've got this thing that we're going to have in the real world, people finding both correct and incorrect information. And by the way, it's not just about things being relevant and not relevant. All right. We've got both correctness and incorrect, and then we've got something that could be completely not relevant to the user. The user looks at it and says, well, that's not at all what I'm looking for. And so you might be tempted to think, oh, well, let's just label incorrect information as not relevant and use regular notions of effectiveness. That actually isn't going to work here, and sort of would hide a very important thing, because it would be better for users to see non-relevant information than for them to see incorrect information. And likewise, from a definition of relevance, users are going to actually say to themselves, when they see results, it looks relevant, even though it's incorrect. So one of the things that we need to absolutely do is look at better ways to evaluate search results, and that's where a lot of the work post this study has gone into. And we have some techniques now that we think are pretty helpful to actually help us do that. Yeah, and so really the big conclusion is look, search engine results matter here. What we return to people matters. It's not just about giving people what they want. Giving people what they want is giving them this relevant information. So if we just ask them about, are you satisfied? Initially, they would be like, yeah, I'm satisfied. These look like great results. What we really need is an understanding of the search engine's effect on people long term. Well, how does it affect their life? How does it affect the tasks that they're working on? And for these sort of consequential decisions that they make, what really is potentially going to happen to people? Are they making correct, good decisions, or are they being influenced to make bad ones? All right. I don't know if there's actually any slides after this. No, that's the end. So this was presented by Francis at a conference, the ICTIR, in 2017. So it's been 4 years since that conference. A lot of great work has gone on since then. And again, I think the big thing from an MSCI 541 perspective is look, you have fundamentals of understanding the way search engines work now. I would like you to always keep in mind that search engines are more than just ranking. They're more than just the algorithms. It's a complete system. We've got human interaction on the front end. We have people using them for real tasks as sort of decision support systems. And the outcomes from that are more important than what the users might just label as relevant and not relevant. There's a whole additional world of work still ongoing on how to really return the right stuff for people to help them the most. Because think about this. Not only are we needing to figure out our things in this context, in this example, whether they look relevant, we think they might be considered relevant by the user or not, we also need some way to figure out what are the credible sources of information out there. what are likely to be the correct answers. We really, I believe we want to bias our search engines towards the material that's going to help people the most. And so searching is far more than just, oh, is it something that someone would say is relevant or not? And so our whole approach needs to be adapted to this, ranging from our methods to how we evaluate things as well. And so there's a continual set of work to be done there. And certainly information retrieval always involves all this incredible work at the systems level as well. How do we actually make things go fast? How do we make them scale? These are aspects that, you know, we got a taste of with our data structures in this course. But there's so much for working at a large scale. So yeah, in this talk, I talked about health misinformation and its effect. I also want people in the course to think about the places where they might actually find search engines. There are all sorts of companies out there now with their own in-house search engine, you know, ranging from e-commerce to law firms and more. And they're all going to have unique problems for how can I find the material that people want? How can I find the material that helps them the most? How can I find things that drive the business in a profitable manner? I mean, e-commerce, that's, oh, sure, I want you to find stuff that you would find good to buy, but I also want to, you know, drive the business in a sensible fashion as well. So there's just, it's really endless. And I think you can also tell from the sort of the dates on all this research, it might seem old, but compared to all the physics and chemistry stuff, this is all really recent, and we're still just at the beginning of it, and there's just so much exciting work to be done. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed the course. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I wish you the very best.